Holy cow. What a frickin' day. What a couple of weeks. I'll get my hunt update first because it's fresh. This great big monstrous old whitetail buck, he hits my trail camera probably two, 3 times a night, cruising around looking for girls. Always at night. And he hit my camera at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, okay, this is it. This is it. I'm gonna track you through all that nasty. You can see how thick this stuff is around me. It's disgusting. You can't see nothing. I thought, no, I can do this. So I buckled down and I decided I'm gonna track him. As long as it takes, I'm gonna track him down. 4 hours later, through absolute dog shit. 3 times he laid down in beds, made 2 big rubs. I'm getting all excited. Finally caught up to him after 4 hours. A great big huge record book mule deer. Oh no! The whole time I thought it was a big whitetail. Now a lot of my hunter friends here probably say, well, you should have known it was a mule deer by his feet. But this whitetail is probably 350 pounds. He is absolutely huge. And I haven't seen any. I saw 1 mule deer on my camera there once, days ago. Totally suckered me. I'm so done. I'm so done. That was such a big effort. I was so positive I was on the track of that monster whitetail. Anyway. Doesn't seem to be too much wind here. I think I'm going to sit here and read a few emails and relax a little bit. Decide what I'm going to do next. Let's see what we got. Even if do I even still know how to read? I feel like I'm turning into a caveman. All right. No title in this email. Hello, I've listened to your videos on YouTube and want to let you know that I really enjoy hearing your stories. It has compelled me to come forward with my story to share with you. Perfect. That's what we're all about. I used to live in the Deer Field on the River subdivision off of Dusty Lane and East Buck Run Road in Dahlonega, Georgia. Dahlonega, Georgia. The neighborhood is off Highway 9. This area is heavily surrounded by woods, and the Etowah River runs alongside the back of the neighborhood down into a ravine. There are no numbers on houses, no streetlights at night, and the mailboxes are at the top of the road, all clustered together. All dirt roads. Google it and look at the topography. There are very steep canyons. I lived there for about 5 years, and during that time I encountered numerous deer and bear. One time I had to save my cat, who was sitting still with her tail straight down, trying to camouflage herself on top of my grill just outside my kitchen back deck, as a black bear sitting on the side of the embankment is trying to figure out how to get into the trash can that was cornered behind it. I actually opened the door, threw my arms up, and with a deep, loud voice I screamed at it, "Get out of here!" I scared my cat. She jumped down and ran under the steps. The bear stood up and then jumped over my propane tank and took off running downhill into the woods. When the bear stood up, I felt fear and shut the door and leaned up against it on the floor. But I was not going to let anything happen to my cat. I do not scare easily. Now here's my story. One morning I was on my way out after my son had left to go to high school. I was going to meet a friend for breakfast. It was during the spring 2012, so the weather was nice and the foliage was coming in, but not so thick, and you could still see through the woods. I was driving up the hill on the dirt road out of Dusty Lane and turned left onto East Buck Run Road. I drove slowly on this road as it was very rough and bumpy. Not a county road, and no one wanted to pay to keep it up. And being disabled with back pain, I always took this road very slow. As I was approaching a corner near the top of the road toward Deer Run, where all the mailboxes were located, I saw something that was very large and hairy crouching down behind a tall hardwood tree to my right. I stared at it trying to see what it was, perhaps a bear, but then noticed it was on 2 legs and not 4. His arms and hands were up on a tree, up on the tree. It was very focused on whatever it was staring at, but then it heard me coming and turned its head sideways, but did not look at me directly. It was looking at me through its peripheral vision. For a second, it froze. I don't know if it was hoping I didn't see it or if it was trying to figure out which way to go. I hit the brakes and came to a complete stop. I could not believe what I was looking at. It was nothing I had ever seen before. Then it stood up. It was very large. I never saw its face, just the right side profile in the back of its head. What I did see was an enormous butt and legs like tree trunks. A very hairy body with red and brown hair and what looked to me like a bald head at the top with long hair in the back. I could not tell where the head ended and the shoulders began. No neck. The butt on this thing was very big and is very muscular. I saw a tremendous amount of dirt being kicked up into a cloud as it leapt, and when I say leapt, I mean 5 to 10 feet per leap. I saw the top of its head was above my neighbor's deck rail, 9 to 10 feet tall, and then it leapt over their propane tank, a 250-gallon one, and in one final leap down into the ravine toward the Etowah River. This is a ravine that was so steep that you would need rope to be lowered down, but it just jumped into the air and was gone in less than 5 seconds. Whatever this thing was, it moved so fast that my eyes could barely follow it. I will tell you this. There would be no way to outrun this thing if you come across it in the woods, on foot. No way. My heart was pounding and my mouth was open, and I couldn't tell you what I saw. I've lived in Georgia my whole life except when I was in the service, and can tell you I've never seen anything like it. The size of it made me tremble, and the strength and speed with which it moved was incredible. What scared me was not knowing what it was and its size and strength. The thought on my mind was that whatever it was, it did not want to be seen. It didn't move because it startled it, nor was it afraid of me at all. It did not want to be seen. I sat there for a second in my car trying to process what had just happened. What was it doing? What was it looking at so intently that it failed to hear me coming? I started to drive away to the top of the dirt road because it was definitely gone, and as I rounded the corner, I saw the mail truck sitting at the mailboxes and the lady sitting there sifting through the mail before putting it in the boxes. She was totally clueless, had no idea what just happened. Then it occurred to me that it was watching the mail lady intently. That's what it was doing, crouching down and hiding behind a tree, and I came upon it. What struck me as odd was that it didn't appear like it was stalking. It appeared curious and was hiding. That's all. I've never seen it again. I walked around for 2 days, still in kind of shock, before I finally told my sister about what I had seen. She was very skeptical about it and suggested that I might have seen a wild boar, perhaps a bear. She said they will stand up on their hind legs to run if startled, but that doesn't explain how it jumped over the propane tank, was at least 10 feet tall, and could crouch down on 2 legs. It might explain how all the dust and dirt was kicked up so much. I've never seen anything like it in my life. It changed me. It changed the way I think. There is more out in the world than we realize. It makes me wonder what else there might be too. All I know is this happened to me and it was real. I don't care what anyone thinks. And this is not something you want to be alone with. I started doing research and trying to find anything that looked like what I saw, and I still haven't seen anything like it today. I did find a video on YouTube about an officer who was driving near the area with his dash cam on and caught something like it running across the road. What I saw moved the same way this thing in the video did. Leaps and bounds. There you go. Welcome to the club. You might want to send your sister this video, maybe. And she can see that there's literally tens of thousands of us that have seen the same thing and didn't ask to, didn't imagine it, and it wasn't a bear or a hog. Okay. It's a good thing we're doing here. All in all, it's a good thing. You know, I think there's a lot of people in the world that are advancing their knowledge on what's going on, which is really good. I think for the average person is just getting slapped in the face with this reality. I think they got to be slowly led up to where a lot of people are today when it comes to this topic. Because the truth is, it's just a bit much for your average human being to accept or wrap their being around. I think it's something that a lot of people just have to gradually get there if they are that motivated and interested, you know? Because there's a lot of real crazy shit going on, and there's no denying that. And the majority of the population today, unfortunately, have been dumbed down. It's a fact. And this topic and where it leads, I don't think there's too many people that have much interest or can even attempt to try to get a grasp of it, you know? Babble. Let's get back to hearing some voices. Appreciate you sending us that experience in from Georgia. Welcome to the club. Keep listening to all the people here and learn, all right? Make sure you maybe send that to your sister. Here's another one titled Sasquatch Story. About 2 months ago, I commented on 3 of your videos. Quote, you asked, end quote, had a gun on it. And my grandfather's story. Your bad, quote, I don't give an F what people think, end quote. Langford attitude gave me the inspiration to have the guts to talk about my one and only Sasquatch sighting in 1981. Langford. I'm 71 now, with heart problems, and my days of tramping around in the bush are over. I wasn't much of a hunter anyway, though I like shooting guns. I apologize to everything I shot, so I'll probably never see another one. But I usually got ridiculed when I talked about it. So I clammed up many years ago. And 2 months later, I'm glad I made the comments, and it's inspired me to open up about other events in my life that were pretty bizarre, as I'm getting closer to the end. I really don't care what people think. Call me a liar or delusional. It's still the same story. I can replay it in my head like a video. The last two guys I told said, I don't believe in those. It's not a choice or a religion. It's just what I saw when I was least prepared. It's as simple as, quote, yeah, I saw 6 spark plugs in a Chev 6 and someone is saying, no you didn't. Anyway, you're welcome to use the story and you can ask questions if you need more information. Yours sincerely, Paul Baines. Paul, there's no story here. Unless you put the story in the comment section, it's not in here. I'll have to make a note to search email. Try to find it. But I'm glad to hear your attitude. That's a good thing for a lot of other people to hear as well, you know. That's good. Obviously from the island, Vancouver Island. This next email is titled Sasquatch Story. This story takes place in the late 90s in Iredell County, foothills, North Carolina. It's either Iredell or Iredell. I was roughly 8 years old at the time, out in the woods playing with a friend of mine. It was late fall and leaves weren't scattered amongst the ground. We heard a rustling noise off in the distance and didn't pay much attention to it, as you hear it all the time during this time of year. And as the noise persisted, my friend pointed out a tall, stocky, dark figure 100 yards out, moving from tree to tree in our direction, peeking out every now and then. We retreated to an old makeshift deer stand and climbed up, watching the figure gripping our air rifles as it moved closer tree by tree. Shaking and scared out of our minds, we decided it was best to jump down and book it home. Being fairly young, of course, we knew what a Bigfoot was. However, we were unaware how one should act. We would only have an image of what one would look like. I remember the figure being a dark color from top to bottom, tall and wide. After this event took place, I caught a program on TV one night and sat on the edge of my seat as people spoke of their encounters and how it moved amongst the forest, and about its curiosity validating what we saw that day. A few years ago, I'm 29 now, I reconnected with this friend on social media, as I have since moved from the area. I messaged him and asked him if he recalled the incident, or if it was all in my head, and he said, yeah man, I remember that, it happened. I refrained from talking about it around people because of the ridicule, and I've only met one person that has also had an encounter, although it's not something people really talk about here in rural Ohio. Thanks for taking the time to read and potentially tell my story. I found your channel a few months ago and I can't get enough. Good luck and take care, Bobby. Good luck to you, and you take care too, Bobby. I appreciate you coming out and being honest. You found your people, man. Good, honest people here. Have nothing to gain, but just like to help each other by sharing truth, right? You know where, side note, where this backpack, where my knife was placed in the backpack, is just right down here on the corner, about 400 yards. Side note. This is titled Sasquatch. I want to start by saying I love all your videos, but I've become especially intrigued by your Sasquatch stories. I have a story of my own. I've only ever told a few of my closest members of my friends and family, and many of them think that there got to be some other explanation for what I saw. Like you, I don't care what anyone thinks. I know what I saw. I'm currently 43 years old, and in 1999 I was driving a truck for my job. This was a Class B commercial straight truck. My job required me to make deliveries to rural Minnesota homes very early in the morning. Many mornings I would start work at 1 a.m. and completed much of my route before sun come up each morning. One morning I pulled into a farm place and made my delivery. It was sometime around 3 a.m. and obviously nobody was awake at the time of the morning. The place had a very long driveway, and as I was out of the truck finishing my delivery, I heard the sound, which to the best of my knowledge sounded like a large tree crashing to the ground. It sounded like it came down the driveway in the direction I had just come from, in a wooded area between myself and the county road that the driveway entrance was on. I honestly, at the time, didn't think too much of it. As I finished my delivery, I climbed back in the truck and began to make my way down the nearly 1 mile long driveway. About 1/8 of a mile in, I noticed a black object in the middle of the driveway. I couldn't tell what it was at first, and then for a second I thought it was an extremely large black trash bag full of something, laying in the middle of the driveway. Immediately I was confused because I'd just come down the driveway 10 minutes earlier. Whatever this was not laying in the driveway when I came in, but keep in mind it's pitch black outside and the only lights are from my delivery truck. Confused but curious, I got a little closer when suddenly this overwhelming feeling of fear took over my body. To this day, I've never felt fear like that again. I was 20 years old, 6'2", 265 pounds, and not afraid of anything or anyone. I didn't have any idea why I felt the fear I felt, but it caused me to stop the truck. And as soon as I stopped the truck, about 75 yards ahead of me, that, quote, bag of trash, end quote, got up on 2 legs, and in just a few steps, disappeared into the thick brush to my left. I sat there for a few seconds in complete confusion. And after a short while, I dropped the truck back in gear and made my way to the highway as quickly as I could. I never even told anyone about what had happened for several months after. Part of my job required me to deliver to this farm 2 to 3 times a week, and for several months after, I was scared shitless every time I needed to make that delivery. Wow. I live in a part of central Minnesota where black bears are extremely rare. In fact, if someone sees one, it makes the local news. That was no bear. Not to mention this thing walked on 2 legs. Whatever I saw was probably only about 5 to 6 feet tall. It was not like the massive 8 to 9 foot tall Sasquatches that some people describe. I spend my share of time in the woods, hunting in many states, and have never seen anything like it again. Honestly, I hope I never do again. I don't go around trying to convince people these things exist because I know they do. I don't care if they believe me or not. I know what I saw that morning. I have no idea what it was doing, balled up in the middle of the driveway, but it was. Feel free to share my story, but please don't share my name. Thank you for listening to my story. You got it, my man. We got you. We don't share your name. That's fine. Yeah, it's been a common move. It's an easy one unless you do it right in the middle of the road, but balling up anywhere in the dark for your average human being is so easy. It's so easy to elude humans. It's stupid, really. Very, 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 very easy. In the night or day, in the woods. There you go. Another person in the club. Another person in the club. Appreciate you sending that in. Okay, one more, you guys, and I'm going to go make a plan somewhere else. I think I got about 2 hours of light left. This is titled Sasquatch Encounter. I've been watching your videos about your Sasquatch encounters and others, and I feel like finally telling mine, because your videos have encouraged me to finally want to tell mine. I was about 12, and I went out to my neighbor's woods to do some small game hunting, and it was January when this happened. I shot a few squirrels, and I decided to go further into the woods to see if I can get more squirrels or something else. Well, when I went further back, I started hearing something banging a branch on a tree. The very distinctive sound of wood on wood, and I didn't think too much about it. When I first heard the sound, it was about 250 yards away, and I was walking back up to my house, and the sound kept on getting closer and closer. When I got to eyesight of my house, which eyesight of my house is about 300 yards in the winter, I heard it again. It was exactly 35 yards behind me, and it shook my chest. I've had many more encounters with Bigfoots or Sasquatch, so if you ever want to hear more stories, feel free to email me back, and I'll be willing to tell them. AJ, that's all I got is AJ. Okay, AJ, we want to hear it all, man. Whatever you got, we want to hear it. We want to hear from every single person out there. All it is truth. At this stage of the game, it's just truth, right? It's just truth. Okay. Okay, one more. This is titled My Encounter. Okay, this is the second time I've told this and was hesitant about telling it now. But if you can tell your story, I can too. In 2016, my brother and I decided to go hunting, so we planned on the following weekend I'd come pick him up and we would go. So Saturday morning I was up, got ready, and went to the truck. No punctuation, you guys, all right? Bear with me. I had to recheck my straps on my ATV. I'd loaded the day before. I remembered it was a cold Kentucky morning. The straps had ice built up on them. Everything was good. So I went, picked up my brother, and headed to where he was going to hunt. We have hunted there many times. There's a big strip where they had cut coal from the rock cliff. When you get to the top, you have a big holler to your left, a big open bottom, then the cliff stretches all the way around the bottom. So I dropped my brother off a half mile up the road. He wanted to be on the cliff watching this bottom as I rode my ATV up the other side, so I was giving him time to get to his spot before I started up the old road in case I jumped one. But he shot way before getting to the cliffs. He had got a deer. I didn't know that at the time, so I was expecting him to be sitting on top as I rode by. So I start up the hill and I stop. When I got halfway up, like I do all the time to load my rifle, I had a Savage 30-06 that has a strap on it. I had it in my lap as I entered the bottom. I was looking for my brother, which he was heading back to the truck with his deer, when I saw this thing run out from the holler about 40 yards in front of me and was heading to the cliffs. I freaked, pulled my gun up and shot. Didn't know if I'd hit it or not. I never even looked in the scope, so this thing keeps running and went straight to the corner up this bottom between the cliffs. It had nowhere to go at this time, trying to figure out what I was looking at. It sat behind this little bush and was looking at me. I'm 5'8", and this thing was probably just a little taller than me. I'm shaking. So I jumped off my ATV, put my gun up, and was going to shoot this thing. And as I looked through the scope, it had its arms up like you and I would do if something was going to hit you and protect your face. It was trying to protect its face. And looked like a scared kid, shaking and jumping at every little sound. I couldn't take the shot. It was scared just as much as I was. I lowered the gun and said, "You're all right, I'm not going to hurt you." I got back on my ATV and started back off the hill, watching behind me the whole way back. I told my brother about what had happened. When I returned, he just said I was full of shit and didn't believe me. But we've hunted there many times after that, and I've never seen it again. In a way, I hope I never do, but I'd like to videotape it to prove it to my brother I'm not crazy. But after my encounter, I started taking a camera with me on all my hunting trips, but that was my story. Take care. Boom. Wow. I don't know about you guys, but that made me feel sorry for that little being. Lucky his parents never grabbed you by the scruff of the neck. Probably, right? I'm glad you didn't hit it. Him, her. Lots of people shoot what they don't understand. They shoot at what scares the shit out of them, even though they're not getting attacked, right? It's unfortunate. Hell, me and Sarah just about got shot by a guy over here just because he saw something moving on the road. Huh. Yeah, I'll bet you never saw it again. I'll bet that little guy got bet he got his ear twisted right off after that. Well, anyway, I'm going to get my butt going, you guys. I miss doing this, to be honest. I miss sharing everybody's truth. It's got to be heard. It's making a big difference. I firmly believe this channel and all of you have made a world of a difference in the world when it comes to bringing truth forward. I sincerely believe we have made a real big difference around the world. There's a lot of people talking freely about this topic. And they're really starting to pick up speed. A lot of channels are taking it seriously, and they're dedicating their time to sharing truth and investigating deep and deeper and deeper too. It's a good thing. But anyway, it actually feels good to talk. I've been by myself for a couple weeks. I know I'm a little crazy, but I love it. I love doing this. Now, I better get my butt moving. Really warmed up today. It was -10 yesterday. And then woke up this morning, it was 0. Which after you've been running around at -10, 0 is like a balmy summer afternoon. Quick note on that owl. Wasn't that crazy yesterday? So I always see owls perched, just sitting there. And I find that they let you get quite close to them. And now I know why. After seeing that went down yesterday and video recording it, now I know why. It's because they are in the middle of a hunt. When an owl is sitting there and looks kind of docile, he is trying to hone in on a meal. I didn't know that. Now that I do know that, I'm not going to go up and try to get close to him anymore. Because it's wintertime, right? They need some food. And imagine how long it takes for them to locate that rodent under the snow. How long it must take, and how much patience, and how long it takes them to hone in, finally get a perch above it, and get ready to pounce down. Then some prick like me comes along with an ATV and a camera and wants to get close to them. Ruins everything. Now that I think about it, I think I've ruined owl hunts a bunch of times over the years. But that owl yesterday, he had some attitude, didn't he? He's like, I don't give a shit about you. I'm getting this mouse. I'm hungry. Down he goes into the snow. That was awesome. I've never seen that before in my life. What a privilege that was. That was pretty cool. I'd be able to share it too, right? Anyway. Share my story. Share my story, howtohunt.com. Make sure you get your truth shared, alright? Don't take it to the grave. Get it out. Now's the time to do it. I'll be back later, you guys. I miss everybody. I miss everything at home. I'll be home pretty quick. Couple more days.